With a closer look now at how the mainstream media is covering this tragedy, let's bring in KTTH Seattle Talk Radio host Jason Rantz. Jason, I want to put this up. This is Charlie Kirk, what he said. I think he makes a fair point. He says, we have a serious problem when authorities can leak a SCOTUS ruling, a president's tax returns, and classified congressional briefings, but they are unwilling to share a homicidal maniac's manifesto to reveal her motive for killing kids. I look back. Since 2013, Jason, there have been 6 of these types of shootings that had manifestos. They were all released. If this was a conservative manifesto, every news agency in the country would be suing to get it released. Your thoughts?
100%. But let's be clear. It would have already been released. They wouldn't even have to go through a lawsuit. Now, there is the potential that there's a reasonable reason for this, that you might not release it if maybe someone else is possibly involved. But that seems extremely unlikely, and we would have heard that by now. One thing I think about is the reason why they may not want to release it is it will tell us what some of us have been speculating, that this is in fact tied to a transgender activist ideology. We have this weekend coming up, this Trans Day of Vengeance, and perhaps it could inspire some violence or some additional protests or rallies as a result of that. That's the only thing I can think of, because it does not match the past patterns of releasing manifestos. And we're told that the FBI's top minds are looking at this. And then once they go over it and get a better sense of what's in it, then they'll release it. Why would it take this long? How long is this manifesto?
Yeah, that's exactly what we keep asking. The Daily Beast wrote the following here. Nashville shooting fuels the right's engine of anti-trans hate. Going on to say, we trans Americans find ourselves reeling from unprovoked and unjustifiable attacks on television, on social media, and across conservative news media. If we pulled the triggers that killed, as if we pulled the triggers that killed 6 people in Tennessee, suddenly it's not about 3 adults and 3 9-year-olds being killed. It's about transgender people having a target on their backs. How do we pivot to that, Jason?
Well, because Christians aren't considered a marginalized community in this country by folks on the left, who will always side with who they think comes from a marginalized community, even when they are the bad people in all of this, even when they're the villains. It seems to me that one thing that we could also do, and I understand why some folks on the left or anyone would say, hey, we don't want to allow a shooter to define an entire community. A shooter shouldn't define an entire community. I've said that when it involves someone who happens to be conservative or who happens to have an identity that the left doesn't want to protect. But we also have a group of people who seem to have been targeted on the basis of their religion. And that is worthy of at least some sort of compassion from some of these folks. But instead, they're trying to turn this into a political issue, right? You go after the right, you say that they're anti-trans, while at the same time, that kind of rhetoric that folks on the right are going after transgender people could have fueled this exact shooting. When you're fed this steady diet of all of that nonsense about how this country's turning into Nazi America because we want to go after the trans, you're causing a fear.
Yeah, you are indeed. I think that's a proper assessment. Jason Rantz, thank you.